Always a one hand. It's always a one hand.
What are the chances? Pretty good.
My story, you guys. I'm gonna ask permission. I'm just gonna tell you my story. I'm up here and I got the stage. I'm gonna tell you my story. Okay. My story started many years ago. In fact, even before Isagenix. A decade of yo-yo dieting is kind of where I spent. I was an athlete in school, in high school. I was that girl who could eat 4 burgers and eat every guy under the table and drink every guy under the table, and I was still thin. And then life happened. I think I got mature and things happened, and my sports slowed down, my eating continued, and I started hanging around with the wrong crowd, and I started to gain a lot of weight. And at that time, I didn't really care because it was more about the fun and everything. So I spent a decade of just having fun, so I thought, right? Not the fun that we have now, or we want now, right? The fun we thought we wanted. And I gained a lot of weight, and I started to get to the point where I was just like, I guess this is just me, right? And I met my husband, and at that time, I think I dropped like some weight before I met him because I was feeling sexy and, confident. And then I met him, and then we fell in love around nachos and Napoleon Dynamite and food. And so I gained the weight tenfold. And I just figured this is just what it was. And I was just too exhausted to do anything about it. I was still happy Helen, right? And that's what everybody saw. But then when I came home in the mirror and I would look at myself, I would be so disappointed. Like so angry with myself. I'd go to a change room, and if you guys, the change room blues were like you're sweating, and you try all these things, and you're sweating, and you're trying, and nothing fits, and you put it all in the nothing fits pile, and you leave with nothing. And I hated shopping, right? And that's just kind of that whole disappointment. And I was just like, whatever. And I got married, I gained weight, had to make my dress bigger. Stress just killed me. So anyways, all this went through for decades, and then finally, in my corporate job when I had it, you have to go every year to go get blood work and stuff for your medical, right? And every year, it's like, Helen, you're obese. Helen, here, eat 1,000 calories. Here, Helen, have some more phentermine, because my doctor loved prescribing me phentermine. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a pill that makes you not want to eat ever. Gives you dry mouth and hyper, and I don't need that. So anyways, so they just kept saying that over and over and over again, but they just kept saying I was obese, overweight, da-da-da-da-da. And then in 2014, after my exam, they called me back and said I was headed down the road of chronic health issues. And that scared me, because I'm sitting there with the doctor, and I'm like, he's explaining the numbers, because I didn't know what anything meant. And I'm like, oh, that's because my mom, my grandfather, my uncles, they all, it runs in my family. And he's like on the other side like this. He's like, honey, these are not hereditary diseases, this is food related. He's like, fix it. And it was just like, oh, Helen, it's your fault. And I'm like, holy crap, it's my fault. It's the McDonald's, it's the pizza, it's the burgers, it's the everything I was eating. It was the ice cream with the Cheerios on top and the barbecue chips, because it all tastes so good together, right? It was all of that, and I did it to myself. But then I kept thinking right now, he's like, you inherited bad eating habits. And I'm like, if I inherited bad eating habits, and I'm thinking of my 2 little boys at my home, what are they inheriting from me? Here I'm at 35 with chronic health issues. What are my boys gonna look like when they're 6, 7, 12, 15, right? And so that was enough for me to go, oh, I'm done. And I went home and I told my husband we're doing something, and we started to clean eat. And I clean ate for 30 days, and it was okay. It was exhausting in the kitchen. I lost a little bit of weight, but I was still on the couch going, come sit with mommy, because I just don't have the energy. And my girlfriend was on Facebook. Who's got those annoying friends on Facebook? Or you're the annoying friend on Facebook. right? And I'm like, she's my bestie back home in Canada. And I'm like, how is this woman getting up at 5 a.m., showing off her Garmin calories, going to work, like she has a high-stress career job, and then going to take her kids to like dance and swim. And she's like, I'm like, how are you momming it so hard? Because I suck as a mom. And she's like, it's Isagenix. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do a thing. But sure enough, I finally looked into it, saw how the ingredients were, and I said, okay, I got 30 days to return it. I told my husband, hey, we're gonna do this together. Our first couple of weeks, we looked at each other, and we're at I remember the steaks, we're at the kitchen island, and I'm like, how do you feel? He's like, good. I'm like, me too, like really good. He's like, yeah, me too. My husband is, if you guys know my husband, he's super skeptic, right? He doesn't say things like that. And I'm like, this is real. This is not a placebo, like Isagenix is real, it's doing something for us. And so our bodies kind of like lit up from the inside. So from there on, we just kept going. And I went 30 day after 30 day, and that's my husband and I right there. I lost 90 pounds, my husband went and lost 65.
All right.
We did it together. It was awesome. And through my story, I got nationally recognized just because of, I knew once I started doing this for myself, I started to realize I'm just a mom who had a shit of excuses. I just had a ton of excuses. And I just started to go out there and share my story and tell people, if you just get off your butt and do something, your life will change. If you just get off your butt and do something, your life will change. And so I started to do that with Isagenix. I started getting people to start Isagenix with me, and then I started doing a 5 a.m., or at that time it was 4 a.m. This was us on the day on CNN, and like Natalie mentioned, in 2017, I got to sit on stage in front of 35,000 people and with the IsaBody thing. And I want to tell you guys, the money was cool. Like the 15 minutes of fame of being a champ is cool, but the coolest part was this hug and matching my sons, right? Watching me win that, because I'm going to tell you guys, you can say everything you want to your kids, but it's what you do in actions is what they mimic, right? My kids think they're going to be some type of like rock stars. Like they're already like, I'm going to be a champion, like mommy, right? Like,
there you go.
And that's what they believe now, and it's beautiful, right? So the beautiful thing about this is that Isagenix helped me physically. When I started to look at the financial solution, 3 years ago, I had a corporate job, and I started to work at it during my lunch hours, and I loved my corporate job. I got paid a lot of money to do not a whole lot, right? Just like easy money. But then I realized, but you're gone 50% of the time, Helen. You're only home 50% of the time. You don't get to see your boys. And I missed half of my boys, my youngest life. When I realized he was 5, and he started having problems in school, and I started to realize he needs his mommy, and I'm not there. I'd be in Mexico or Arizona or wherever I was, and it would be another report, another this, and, and I'm like, this kid's life is not stable. I'm never home. My husband works weird shift work, and I started to go, it didn't matter what I got paid in my corporate job. It didn't matter. They were the most important thing. So in December of 2018, I walked away from my corporate job, and this was my first field trip I got to be with at school.
Awesome.
I didn't know this was possible when I came and put that shake in my body. But now I get to hang out with my kids at school. They have a field trip, I'm like, I'll volunteer. I will not volunteer again next year. It's just but listen, I can say I can volunteer now. I can say I can volunteer. I probably won't volunteer again. Right. It was fine. It was exciting to say I can do it, but listen, let's face it, I'm not that mom. But the fact that I can be there for them whenever they need me is awesome. I can go and have lunch with them whenever I want, and that was really awesome. And that for me was probably the most important part. When I talk to people about the solutions Isagenix, I'm like, well, the wealth solution is my favorite now. Because I get to do whatever I want with my voice, right? And I'm there. And I had, when I looked at my priorities in my corporate job versus my family, we kind of get it skewed sometimes, right? I wanted to be this big shot for a bunch of people who really didn't care about me, right? And then not be present for the people who did. And so it was a really cool realization for me. So, anyways, that's my story. Woo!